Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Every day we're bombarded with advertisements in magazines and newspapers and on radio and TV. In the past decade, there's been an increase in ads for prescription medications of all kinds. And more recently, we're seeing TV advertisements for diabetes management. The New York Times recently reported that advertisements for diabetes medication have increased 200% in the past 3 years. Joining me today is Robin Edelman. Robin is the diabetes educator for the Vermont Department of Health. And alongside Robin is Gary Starcheski. Gary is a clinical staff pharmacist at the UVM Medical Center, where he's been educating patients and health professionals for more than 40 years. Thanks so much for being with us today. Gary, why are we seeing more ads for prescription medicine in particular?
Well, the companies that make these medicines are trying to generate interest in the medicine. There's an awful lot of money spent in this country on diabetes medications. It's one of the top categories that we spend our prescription dollars on. So if the drug company can generate interest, can get a patient to be thinking that this medication might be for them and talk to their health professional about it, that's the goal that they're looking to achieve. The problem is that they're spending an awful lot of money on a way of generating interest. Doesn't necessarily educate people very well. If you notice in the ads, they're really not telling you much detail about the medication. They have great things about, oh, everybody looks very happy and running through fields or riding their bicycles, and just everything is marvelous when you take this medication. But there's not a whole lot about the day-to-day reality of taking medicine, the day-to-day reality of having diabetes and how you deal with that.
In fact, I think we're going to be showing an ad in just a minute.
Yeah.
And what Gary said really is illustrated by this ad.
Okay, let's take a look at the ad and see if we notice those things in it.
Type 2 diabetes doesn't care who you are.
Man.
Woman.
Or where you're from.
City. Country.
We're just everyday people fighting high blood sugar.
Farxiga may help in that fight every day. Along with diet and exercise, Farxiga helps lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. One pill a day helps lower your A1C. And although it's not a weight loss or blood pressure drug, Farxiga may help you lose weight and may even lower systolic blood pressure when used with metformin. Do not take if allergic to Farxiga or its ingredients. Symptoms of a serious allergic reaction include rash, swelling, or difficulty breathing or swallowing. If you have any of these symptoms, stop taking Farxiga and seek medical help right away. Do not take Farxiga if you have severe kidney problems, are on dialysis, or have bladder cancer. Tell your doctor right away if you have blood or red color in your urine or pain while you urinate. Farxiga can cause serious side effects, including dehydration, genital yeast infections in women and men, serious urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, and kidney problems. Stop taking Farxiga and call your doctor right away if you have signs of ketoacidosis, which can be serious or life-threatening.
Farxiga. We are everyday people.
Ask your doctor if Farxiga is right for you, and visit Farxiga.com to learn how you can get it for free.
Well, I'm thinking I want to take Farxiga now.
I know. I want a group to slide the family stone and play that violin and dance and walk a cute dog.
So, Gary, when someone sees a TV ad like that, what should they do?
So if you think that a medicine might be for you, you really want to look at the whole picture of the medication. Compare it to medicines you're already taking. Think about, is this really going to be an improvement? And we have some information on the screen here, questions to think about if you're really considering having a new medicine on your list. So, is this medicine more effective? And does it produce really a meaningful, improved result? The interesting thing is the FDA does not require the companies that market drugs and produce drugs to prove how big of a benefit there is. They just have to prove that there's some benefit. So you see ads for medicines that have really a small amount of benefit for most people that take them. There's one for toenail fungus that only 20% of the people who use it for a year end up having a benefit, and it's a very expensive medicine. There's a medicine called Cymbalta or duloxetine that has been marketed. You saw a lot of ads a few years ago when it was still a brand name medicine. You saw these ads for back pain, and most of the people who took it really didn't have a better effect than with older generic medicines. You had to give it to like 6 or 8 people to get one person who had a good result from Cymbalta. But that doesn't come across in the ads. That's the problem, is it doesn't really list the real benefits and the real risks of the medication. So the other things that were on the screen, things like making sure, is it going to cost you less? That would be a plus, okay? Does it have fewer side effects? You saw in that Farxiga ad, they talked about the side effects, but the narrator always changes their tone. They talk a little faster and lower, and all these ads kind of run together, and it makes it so that you really can't pick out how much really there is a chance of which side effects. And most people just blank out at that part, and all they see is all the happy people walking around. And if it's more convenient, would be a plus too.
Exactly. Now, Robin, what's the overall role of medication in managing diabetes compared to, say, diet and exercise?
So we think of those 3 things together: diet, exercise, and medication as the cornerstone of diabetes management. And most people will start out with diet and exercise to help lower blood sugar and improve the sensitivity of insulin in the body. But everybody, regardless of how well they're doing with their diet and exercise, as they continue to live, and if they live longer, they will eventually need medication because the cells in their pancreas are going to start failing and not making enough insulin, as an example. And so medication is one of the 3 things that will really impact most people and just about everybody, depending upon how long they live with their diabetes.
Now, Gary, there seems to be so many different types of diabetes medications. Some you inject, there's some in pill form. What can you tell us about these different types of medications?
Well, I can tell you diabetes is a very complex disease. There's a lot going on in the body that results in why you have diabetes. So I like to describe it in a way that you can understand it, that's outside of the body. So picture a car. Your car needs energy in the form of fuel in order to run. So the fuel has to get from the gas tank through the fuel pump and into the engine to produce the energy. Well, insulin is what controls the fuel pump in your body. So the fuel has to get from your bloodstream, which is the glucose, the sugar that's in your blood, has to go into every cell in your body. And insulin is the gatekeeper. It controls that pump that gets the fuel into the cells. So if you don't have enough insulin, you don't have enough fuel, and the engine doesn't run right. So like your car doesn't run right.
Yeah, and some of the medications that they have now, they're either going to make the body produce more insulin, or they're going to help the blood sugar that's already circulating get excreted more in the kidneys. That's what that Farxiga does. It actually promotes more urinary excretion of glucose so that you're not needing as much insulin to get it into the cells. So these medications are targeting different parts of the body to affect glucose production or insulin sensitivity or some other factor that's going to help lower your blood sugar.
Is it safe to switch these different things up if you're on one particular insulin form and then you see a commercial and you say, well, I want to try this one?
So the usual approach, the best approach, is to start with the tried and true medicines that we know how they work. They know how they're going to work in this fuel system of the body. And we have experience with their safety and how much benefit they have. If those medicines don't work, then it is time to consider either adding more medicines or switching to a different medicine. And that can be done safely, but you want to pick medicines that work in different ways, work on different parts of the system. Again, this fuel pump thing with the car, picture your car is designed by somebody who's like totally paranoid about running out of gas, and it's got an extra gas tank, and it's got a little factory that can make fuel if you need to. Well, that's what's going on in your body. So when the cells don't have enough fuel, enough sugar, your body starts to make more sugar in other ways. It tries to absorb more through your food. It releases stored up sugar, and all this kind of overflows the system. And that's what happens with diabetes, is that high blood sugar is kind of an overflow in the whole system.
So Gary, let me just double check with you about this too, a reality check. Do you believe that many people would be very well managed with their diabetes medications and not ever use any of the medicines that they're seeing advertised on television? Because some of the medicines that are those tried and true basic medicines are not the ones in the ads right now.
Right.
So, and they're less expensive and they're more basic, so.
Most people do get by just fine with the existing medicines, really, especially if they make the effort to work with their diet and their activity. And that's a really hard thing with diabetes, because when you don't have enough fuel in your cells, you don't have much energy. So
Right.
we're telling somebody to exercise and the fuel's not really working that great. It's tough to get that going. But once you get it going and you do all these areas, you can really make a difference and get by with the existing medicines.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about insulin. Is that the most common medicine?
So insulin is very widely used. It's the most predictable one because it works right where the problem is. So it replaces what's missing for most people.
And it's going to be missing from everybody if they live long enough with diabetes, because the cells in your pancreas that make insulin, they fail over time. It's not that you fail as a self-manager, it's just that your cells are changing. So if you live long enough, you will need insulin with diabetes. And we try and break through the myth of insulin is a bad thing. It's actually a much easier and safe medication to administer. And I'll let Gary cover that.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest safety issue with insulin is that it works so well that if you don't give the right dose, you can overdo it and your blood sugar can go too low. So we really have to be cautious with the dose, but we have great ways now. People can just stick their finger once or twice or 3 times a day. It depends on where they are with their diabetes, and check how their response to insulin is going. And insulin is a lot easier to give now. We used to get insulin from cows and pigs. We extracted it from their pancreas. And there was a lot of allergic problems and skin reactions, a lot of difficulty. So with our newer insulins, a lot of that stuff has gone away, and we have very easy ways to measure insulin now and give it. The shots don't hardly hurt at all. I mean, it's really a great
You've got
thing.
an example of a
So
shot.
Before, you used to have to get a vial of insulin and draw it up into the syringe, and the marks on the syringe were hard to read, especially if you have diabetes and you have trouble with your vision. A lot of problems there. So this kind of insulin pen, you just dial in what your dose is. So if you need 8 units of insulin, you just dial it to this, put your fresh needle on, and there we go.
Yep.
And go through a couple other steps, making sure the syringe is ready to go, pop it on, and you've given a shot that is very painless and very easy to measure.
What about cases of patients who forget to take their medicine? Robin, how do you advise people who fall into that category?
We usually tell people to pair it with an activity that's going to happen no matter what. Like if you're going to feed the cat in the morning, and put the pills by that, so that when the cat's crying, you know to take the pill or take the shot before you actually feed the cat, so it's done. And Gary's brought some other devices that help show you how to remember and how to guide you.
Okay.
So the hardest part really initially is being convinced that you need to take a medicine. So we have very little problem with people with cancer, for example, getting their prescriptions filled and actually taking their medication, because they're totally convinced that they need that medicine. With diabetes, it's easy to convince yourself. A lot of the benefits are way down the line, years later. You really need to make sure you're looking at the risks and benefits of the medicine and can see those benefits clearly. Once you've decided to take a medicine, then using these kind of reminders is a big plus, because what happens is almost everybody who takes medicines regularly, they have this situation where they take it out of the prescription bottle, they take their medicine, and half an hour later they're like,
Did I take
did
the
I
medicine?
take that?
Yeah.
We've got
This gets rid of that problem.
We've got about a minute left. So, Robin, are there resources that you recommend regarding medication responsibilities and safety?
Yeah, I'm going to show that last slide now, if we put that up on the screen. And you can see that there's a very, very convenient, it's the one right after that, actually. We're going to go, yeah, so this one, to be smart about your medication, your medicine, be safe, be smart, be safe. There's a website. I think if you just actually Googled your medicine, be smart, be safe, you can download a pamphlet or you can call the number on the screen and get one mailed to you. That's a great resource to show people how to take medicine. It has a lot of the reminders and points we've been making today.
You want to make sure you talk to your pharmacist, talk to your doctor, talk to your nurse. Everybody there's questions in this pamphlet that you want to make sure you get answered. And when you start a new medicine, make sure you go and talk to your pharmacist, say, I want to know about this medicine, get everything you need to know.
And write all your medicines down on a list so you can take it to every provider so they know.
The pamphlet has a list
Perfect.
built in.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Great information here. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.